The moment I stepped into that house, my stomach tightened. Not because I was nervous, because I knew this wasn't just dinner. This was something else. Eleanor's house always gave off that fake, catalog perfect look. Not warm, not real. Just staged like she expected a camera crew to pop out any second and ask her about her design choices. My name's Ryan. I'm 34, live in Westchester, New York, and I've been married to Megan for almost 4 years now. Her mom's never liked me, never pretended otherwise. She smiled with her mouth, but not her eyes. And every time we had to show up here, I braced for whatever new test she was about to throw at me. That night, she had the whole place set like it was Thanksgiving dinner, even though it was just a regular Sunday. Candles lit, crystal glassware, some classical garbage playing low in the background. She greeted us like always, tight smile, fake kiss on the cheek, pretending not to look me up and down. "Ryan," she said, placing a hand on my shoulder like a queen knighting a peasant. "I made something special for you. It's a salad from a Michelin star chef's cookbook. Very exclusive." She slid the plate in front of me like it was an award. It looked fancy. Tiny leaves, weird shavings, some kind of foam on top. But the smell hit me. Not rotten, not off like spoiled. Just wrong. Chemical. Like Windex mixed with vinegar. "Before we start, how's your day going and where are you joining from?" Megan smiled politely and thanked her mom. Her dad, Thomas, was already halfway into his drink. And then there was Jenna, Megan's younger sister, the favorite. She always had the perfect job, the perfect teeth, the spotlight. She started going on and on about her new promotion at the hospital, barely chewing between bites. "Chief of Patient Services," she said, showing off like she was on a talk show. "Still figuring out the new team, but it's a big step." I nodded, picked up my fork, and casually switched our plates while she was mid-sentence. She didn't notice. She was too busy talking with her hands. My move was clean, smooth. No one saw, except Eleanor. I caught her glance, just a flicker, but it was enough. Her eyes locked on the switched plates, then snapped back to my face. She blinked once, slow. That's when I knew. She hadn't made that salad for me. Not really. She made it for someone she wanted gone. Eleanor blinked slow, then turned back to her wine, like nothing happened. Jenna kept eating. Then she coughed. Once, twice, short, clipped. She reached for her water glass and smiled like she was fine, but I saw her hand shaking. "Sorry," she said, voice tight. "Something went down the wrong way." Nobody looked up. Megan kept cutting her chicken. Thomas chuckled at something on his phone and nodded along to his wife's rambling about French olive oil. Nobody noticed the crack in Jenna's voice, but I did. It was like her throat was closing in on itself. She coughed again, longer this time. Her shoulders jerked forward. Her face twitched, almost like she wanted to gag but didn't want to make a scene. "You okay?" I asked. "Yeah, just..." She stopped, blinked hard. Her fork clinked against the edge of her plate. Her whole vibe shifted, fast. "It's just warm in here," she muttered. It wasn't. The room was cool. Eleanor had the thermostat locked in like some museum. But no one said anything, not even Megan. Jenna's hand went to her chest, slow. She pushed her chair back, then froze mid-movement, eyes wide, pale, like blood was draining from her skin second by second. Then she stood, one hand gripping the table edge, the other pressed to her stomach. Excuse me?" Her voice cracked. "Bathroom." She staggered down the hall, one heel catching on the rug as she disappeared into the guest bathroom. I heard the door slam shut, then nothing. That's when the silence finally hit. Megan looked up. "What was that?" Thomas shifted in his chair, finally paying attention. And Eleanor? She just sat back, one leg crossed over the other, slowly swirling her wine like she was waiting for her food to cool. Not 1 inch of her moved toward her daughter. I reached for my water glass, took a long sip, and stared across the table. "Great salad," I said. Eleanor didn't even breathe funny, but something in her mouth twitched, barely, a flicker. She swallowed, set her wine glass down with care, and gave me this smooth, detached smile like we were two lawyers mid-negotiation. "I'm glad you enjoyed it," she said. Megan got up, finally alert. "I'm gonna check on her." I watched Eleanor's face as Megan left. Her eyes didn't follow. She just leaned back and glanced at Thomas, who looked like he didn't know whether to reach for more bread or call an ambulance. There was a crash down the hall, something falling, then the sound of retching. I stood, not because I was gonna help, but because I wanted her to feel it. I wanted Eleanor to see me standing. I looked her dead in the eye, slow and solid. You don't seem too worried. She finally looked back at me full on. Her lips curled up slightly. Jenna's a grown woman, she said, voice flat. If she can't handle a simple salad, perhaps she should have said something. Thomas flinched like he'd been slapped. Eleanor, I'm just saying, she said, waving him off. Everyone else is fine, aren't they? That's when I knew, really knew, it wasn't an accident. It wasn't a bad batch or some allergy. She had watched Jenna eat that plate, waited for the moment it hit her, and now she was sitting there, pretending it was nothing. Megan came back in, face tight. She's sick, really sick. She needs water, I said. I'll get it. I walked past Eleanor, brushing just close enough for her to feel it. She didn't move. In the kitchen, I filled a glass from the fridge, fast. But my hands weren't shaking, not even a little. This wasn't fear anymore. It was focus. I handed the glass off to Megan. She went back down the hall. Eleanor stood, slowly. You made a mistake, she said under her breath as she passed me. I didn't move. So did you, I said. Eleanor stood there in the kitchen, smoothing down her skirt like she'd just finished a business meeting, not a hit job. Then she picked up her glass of wine again and walked back toward the table, calm, controlled, like none of this was happening. Megan rushed back in a minute later, out of breath. She's better now, she said, but she's pale and shaking. Her breathing had steadied, but she still looked weak, like she'd just run for her life. Eleanor set her glass down gently. Probably just a random reaction. You know Jenna, always pushing herself too hard at work. No sleep, no proper meals. The body catches up eventually. Thomas shifted in his chair, uneasy. He hadn't touched his food since Jenna ran off. What exactly was in that salad? He asked. His tone wasn't accusing, yet just tired, wary. Oh, stop, Eleanor said, waving her hand. It was a standard recipe. Kale, goat cheese, vinaigrette, nothing dangerous. I leaned against the counter, watching her. She was good at this. The tone, the timing, the fake concern, it was rehearsed. She'd done this before, probably her whole life. Then Jenna came stumbling back in. Her makeup was streaked, hair stuck to her face. She was sweating through her blouse and looked furious, not scared. What the hell was in that food? She demanded, voice hoarse. Eleanor jumped right in, too fast. Honey, maybe you're allergic to something. I told you. Your stomach's been sensitive lately. Remember last month? Jenna shot her a look sharp enough to cut glass. No, that was sushi. This was your salad. Eleanor's smile wavered. Well, there's goat cheese. Maybe that was it. I've eaten goat cheese my whole life, Jenna snapped. She turned toward me. Ryan, you ate the same thing, right? Eleanor froze mid-breath. I smiled. Sure did. Felt fine. For the first time all night, Eleanor's hand tightened on her wine glass. The sound of her ring scraped against the stem. I thought she might throw it, but she didn't. She just stared at me, long enough for everyone else to notice. Thomas looked between us, then down at his plate. Megan, though, she didn't move. She was studying her mom like she'd never seen her before. Wait, Megan said slowly. Why are you looking at him like that? Eleanor laughed, sharp and too loud. Darling, don't be ridiculous. I'm not looking at anyone. You are, Thomas said quietly. You're looking at him. The room went still again. I could hear the faint ticking of that oversized clock she kept above the fireplace, 1 second dragging after another. Jenna wiped her mouth with the back of her hand. That wasn't normal, she said. I felt dizzy, like my throat was closing. I could barely breathe. Jenna, Eleanor said, her voice low and measured now. You're overreacting. I'm sure it's just a coincidence. No, Jenna said. It's not. Eleanor pushed her chair back, the legs scraping loud against the tile. Well, if you're all determined to make a scene over a salad, then perhaps dinner's over. Megan looked at her like she was seeing a stranger. Mom, what's wrong with you? Jenna almost passed out. Eleanor didn't answer. She poured herself another glass of wine instead. Thomas sighed. Eleanor, don't, she snapped. Not now. That's when I realized Megan was staring straight at me, confused, worried. Her mouth opened like she wanted to ask something, but didn't know where to start. You knew something, she said finally. Didn't you? I held her gaze. I noticed something was off. Yeah. Her eyes flicked toward her mom, then back to me. Off how? I didn't answer. I didn't have to. The way Eleanor's eyes darted between us said everything. For the first time, Megan's trust cracked, small but real. She turned toward her mom. "What did you do?" Eleanor just smiled, the kind of smile that says you'll never prove it. But I already had. Megan didn't say a word the rest of dinner, just sat there, pushing food around her plate. Eleanor tried to steer the conversation back to safe ground, weather, politics, some trip to Martha's Vineyard, but nobody was listening. Jenna left early. Thomas drank more than usual. The air stayed heavy, thick with everything no one wanted to say out loud. Later that night, after everyone cleared out and the fake smiles faded, I was in the guest room brushing my teeth when Megan walked in. She didn't knock. She leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, face unreadable. "So," she said, "are you going to tell me the truth now?" I rinsed my mouth, wiped my face with a towel. "About what?" "Don't do that," she said. "You switched the plates, didn't you?" I stared at her in the mirror. "Why do you think that?" "Because I know you. You notice things. You always notice things." I turned to face her. "Your mom said she made that salad just for me." "Yeah?" "It smelled weird." She blinked. "Weird how?" "Sharp, bitter, not spoiled, but wrong. So, yeah, I swapped them." She shook her head. "Jesus, Ryan, you want me to lie? Because I'm not going to do that." Megan paced across the room, hand pressed to her forehead. "You think she actually did something? Like, on purpose?" "You saw her face when Jenna got sick. She said it was a coincidence. She watched her." Megan stopped walking. No, she's cold." "Yeah, but she wouldn't poison someone." I didn't say a word. She stared at me, eyes tight. "Would she?" I held her gaze. "You already know the answer." Megan looked away. "God, she doesn't like me. She never has. And you think it's a coincidence the one plate she made just for me was the one that made your sister almost pass out?" Megan sat on the edge of the bed, silent for a minute. Her shoulders dropped. "I need time," she said finally. I nodded. "Time's fine." I didn't say it, but I was already thinking it. Time's the one thing her mom's running out of. A while later, I stepped into the hallway. Lights were low, house quiet. Thomas was standing near the dining room, glass of scotch in his hand, staring out the big window like he was waiting for something to appear in the dark. He didn't hear me at first. "You all right?" I asked. He jumped slightly, then nodded. "Yeah, long night." I waited. He took a slow sip. "Your salad switch. You always that observant?" "When I need to be." He nodded like that made sense. "She's always had control issues." That was all he said, but he didn't deny it, didn't defend her, and that told me everything. Then came the last piece. I walked back toward the kitchen to grab some water, and the maid, Lena, was scraping plates into the trash, her rubber gloves still on, hair tied back in a tight bun. She didn't look up. "You get stuck with all of it tonight?" I asked, trying to keep my tone casual. "I always do," she said. She stacked a few plates, then paused. "Sometimes I wonder why I'm still here. Why are you?" She glanced at me, eyes dark but calm. "I only do what I'm told." She held my stare for a second too long, then turned back to scrubbing. I stood there for a beat, then walked out. Didn't need to hear another word. The message was clear. After Jenna left, Eleanor disappeared back into whatever icy corner of the house she slithered out of. I headed outside. Needed air. Found Thomas by the garage, alone, smoking one of those expensive cigars he only lit when things got really bad. I didn't say anything right away. Just stood next to him in the dark, both of us staring at nothing. "She's losing control," I said. He exhaled slow. "That's dangerous." "For her?" He looked at me. "For everyone." I leaned against the wall. "What's she holding over you?" Thomas didn't flinch, just stared out at the lawn like there was something out there worth seeing. "She's always got something. You know that." I nodded. "Files?" He flicked ash off his cigar. "Not digital, never digital. She keeps hard copies, physical backups." "Where?" He shook his head. "Don't do this. She tried to poison me. She made Jenna sick. I'm not playing nice anymore." His jaw clenched. Then, "Office. Behind the bookshelf. There's a panel. Push the top left corner near the baseboard. It releases." "A safe?" He nodded. "Combination's her birthday. Month before the wedding. Yours or hers?" "Hers." I didn't thank him. Just turned and walked off. Back inside, Megan was pacing near the staircase. "What were you and my dad talking about?" "Truth." She looked up. I didn't wait. "Come with me." She followed me through the hall, barefoot, hair tied up. No questions, just moved. We stepped into Eleanor's office. That room always smelled like old paper and fake lemon polish. Too neat, too clean, too still. I went straight for the shelf. Ran my fingers along the bottom edge of the molding, found the panel, pushed. It clicked. Megan took a step back as the shelf creaked open like something out of a bad movie. Behind it, yeah, a safe. Old school, gray, heavy. I spun the dial, her birthday. It clunked open. Inside were file folders, dozens, labeled by name, some with dates, some with symbols. Megan stepped in close. What is this? I pulled out a folder with her dad's name on it. Inside, copies of emails, bank records, something about a fake donation to a church that didn't exist. I grabbed another, Jenna's name, photos, text transcripts. One file looked like a therapist's notes. Another had screenshots from a private Instagram she probably forgot existed. Megan went pale. She's been keeping this? I opened a thick envelope at the back labeled with my name. Inside, a prenup. Not the one I signed. This one had amendments, red-lined clauses, a signature from Eleanor, a blank spot where Megan's name was supposed to go. The title read, "In case of defection." I turned to Megan. She planned to cut me out entirely. Megan covered her mouth. Oh my God, then I heard it. Heel taps, slow, intentional. Eleanor walked in like she owned the damn floor. She looked at the open safe, the files, us, and smiled. Curious minds, she said, folding her arms. Megan backed away like her mother had turned into something else entirely. I knew you'd poke around eventually, Eleanor said, eyes locked on me. Then you knew I'd find this. She stepped closer, head tilted. And what exactly do you think you found? Leverage, I said. You lose this game the second I drop a single one of these into the wrong hands. Her smile widened. You think I haven't survived worse? You think I'm scared of you? We stood there, inches apart. No, she said finally, but you should be. I didn't blink. Same goes. Her eyes flicked to Megan, but her daughter didn't move to her side this time. She just stood there, staring at the woman who raised her like she didn't know her at all. Eleanor adjusted her bracelet, smiled again. Well, she said, now it's interesting. Then she turned and walked out, like it was all a game. But this time, I had cards too. She came to the office door about 10 minutes after Eleanor walked out. No knock, just walked in, lips tight, arms crossed like she was bracing herself. You found something, didn't you? Jenna said. I stepped aside and pointed to the pile on the desk. Take your pick. She moved fast, snatched up the folder with her name, opened it. Pages flipped quick, photos, screenshots, a printed out therapy record, a charge from a pharmacy in D.C. from a trip she told everyone was for work. I saw it land. Her hand went limp for a second, then gripped the file so tight the pages crinkled. She kept this on me? She kept one on everyone. Jenna dropped the file onto the desk, like it burned her. She said I was different, said I was the only one she could trust. You're not? She stared at the files like they might change shape if she blinked enough. I was never special. No one is, not to her. She paced, silent, then stopped. What's the plan? I looked her in the eye. We let her do what she does best. She'll bury herself. Jenna didn't laugh, but something close. Bitter, breathless. You think she'll just fall apart? She's already cracking. She just doesn't know it yet. The next morning, Eleanor played her role like nothing happened. Breakfast was set like a magazine cover. Fresh croissants, carved fruit, eggs cooked 3 different ways, like she'd bribed a hotel chef. Thomas sat stiffly at the head of the table. Megan beside me, still quiet. Jenna walked in last. Eleanor stood to greet her. Darling, you look rested. Jenna sat without a word. I made your favorite? Eleanor tried again. Poached pears and... Did you ever plan to tell me? Jenna cut her off. Eleanor blinked. Tell you what? That you had someone following me in D.C. Thomas coughed into his napkin. Megan turned and stared at her mom. Eleanor's voice didn't waver. You're upset. I understand that. But I had concerns about your safety. Bullshit, Jenna said. That was surveillance, not concern. Eleanor smiled, cool and thin. We can talk about this later. No, Jenna said. We're talking about it now. The table went dead silent. Even the maid froze mid-pour at the coffee pot. Jenna leaned forward, voice calm, but shaking underneath. How long have you been collecting on us? Me, Dad, Megan, Ryan. Eleanor's jaw tensed, but she smiled through it. I've always done what was necessary to protect this family. From what? From mistakes, from recklessness, from weak judgment. That what I am? A mistake? You were vulnerable. Jenna laughed. One sharp, humorless bark. You mean I was useful? Eleanor's smile cracked for half a second, barely, but I saw it. Everyone did. Megan looked between them. Wait, what does she mean, Mom? What files? Eleanor stood straight. Enough. Jenna stood too. No, not anymore. Eleanor glanced at Thomas, then Megan, then me. She felt it, the shift. The air wasn't bending to her anymore. Control was slipping like sand through a clenched fist. She turned her eyes back to Jenna. Don't let him twist you. I'm not twisted, Jenna said. I'm just finally looking. Eleanor didn't speak for the rest of breakfast. She sat there, smiling that hollow politician smile, acting like nothing cracked, but it had. We all felt it. Later, in the office, Megan and Jenna went straight to the files like they'd been planning it since they were kids. I sat back and let them go. They were quiet at first, just flipping, scanning, tossing aside anything useless. Then Megan stopped. This isn't just blackmail, she said. This is power hoarding. Jenna held up a thick envelope marked with a name I recognized, Harland Fisk. A friend of the family. Used to own a logistics company, lost everything a few years back. Eleanor had called it a tragic mismanagement. Jenna opened it. Inside, emails, wire transfers, statements that didn't match. Megan pulled out a notarized document with Eleanor's name on it and froze. She caused this, Megan said. She sank his business. Jenna read over her shoulder. She shorted his accounts, then used her lawyers to bury the debt under one of his subcontractors. She tanked him and blamed it on supply chain issues. There was also a bank ledger, tens of thousands in hush payments funneled through a shell account. She paid to keep him quiet, Jenna muttered. Megan slammed the file shut. We need to show Dad. We found Thomas in the den. He looked tired, like he hadn't slept in days. Jenna didn't waste time. She dropped the file on the coffee table in front of him. This is who you've been defending. He flipped through it, slow. As he read, his face changed. Not surprise, recognition. Like he'd suspected but never wanted proof. I warned her about Harland, he said quietly. Told her it would ruin him. You knew? Megan asked. I knew pieces, he admitted, but not this. I stepped in. You're the only one she still listens to. If we go public with this, it'll hit hard. But we need you to back us, quietly. Thomas looked up at us, then back at the file. Then he nodded once. We moved fast after that. I called a friend, Lloyd Kramer, lawyer in Connecticut, quiet, smart, owed me a favor. I scanned the file, sent it encrypted. He called back 20 minutes later. This is real, he said. This is enough to trigger an inquiry. That night, Eleanor tried to take back control. She called a family brunch, extended relatives, old money cousins, even that uncle from Boston she never liked. Said she wanted to reset the energy. Jenna showed up in black like it was a funeral. We waited until everyone had a drink in hand. Then Jenna stood. I need to say something, she said, and I want you all to hear it. Eleanor froze mid-pour. Her smile held, but her eyes screamed, don't. Jenna held up the file. Our mother destroyed a family friend's business. She paid to cover it up. We have the documents, the evidence, the bank trails. Silence. She's kept files on all of us, manipulated every move, used us like chess pieces. Well, I'm done playing. A few gasps, a dropped fork. Eleanor stepped forward. This is not the time. It's exactly the time, Jenna cut in. It's time everyone sees who she really is. Eleanor's face cracked. She looked at me, then at Megan, who didn't move. Then she looked at Thomas. He didn't meet her eyes. That was the moment, the snap. She was finished, and she knew it. Eleanor didn't come downstairs after that brunch. Not that night, not the next morning. For weeks, we didn't hear a word from her. She stayed locked in her room like some ghost hiding from daylight. Word got out. Fast. The cousins stopped texting. The charity board she chaired asked her to step down for now. Nobody said anything to her face, but nobody showed up either. Jenna moved out, packed her things, called a U-Haul, didn't ask for help. She left a note on the kitchen counter that just said, I need space. Don't look for me. Megan didn't argue. She gave her sister a hug at the door, held it a second longer than usual, and let her go. Thomas got quieter, more focused. He started moving things behind the scenes, lawyers, accounts, control of assets. The trust he set up didn't have Eleanor's name on it anywhere. Megan and Jenna were in charge now. He didn't say much about it, but the message was loud and clear. The files stayed with me, locked in a fireproof box in my office closet. Not because I wanted to use them. I just wanted to know, wanted to be ready if she ever tried again. Eleanor still lived in the house, technically, but the place didn't feel like hers anymore. She moved like a guest, walked quiet, avoided eye contact, never asked questions. For the first time, she didn't act like she ran everything, because she didn't. One evening, I sat out back with a beer in hand, watching the sky turn that deep orange pink it only gets in late summer. The air smelled like cut grass and cooling concrete. Megan stepped out and sat beside me. She didn't say anything, just pulled her knees up to her chest and rested her head on my shoulder. We watched the sun slide behind the trees in silence. The war was over. At least, this one. I didn't need her to say it. I could feel it in the way she leaned into me. She was done pretending her mom was something she wasn't. She saw it now. All of it. I didn't want revenge. I wanted peace. And for the first time in a long time, the house felt still. Not cold, not fake, just still. I took another sip and glanced toward the edge of the yard, where the shadows stretched long across the grass. They were quiet now, but I'd keep watching, because peace is never permanent. Not in this family.